The lunchtime rush had just begun at Golden Bite Diner, a well-known fast food restaurant in the city. Customers lined up at the counter, the chatter of families mixing with the sizzling sound of burgers on the grill. Behind the counter, staff worked with forced smiles, but there was an undeniable laziness in their movements. In the middle of this chaos walked in Derek Cole, dressed casually in jeans and a hoodie. No one knew him, at least, that's what they thought. To them, he was just another customer. But Derek was no ordinary man. He was the real owner of the franchise, a successful black entrepreneur who had built this chain from the ground up. Today, he came undercover to see what really happened when management wasn't around. The moment Derek stepped inside, his sharp eyes noticed the little things. A worker carelessly dropped a bun on the counter, picked it up, and still used it. Another employee whispered and laughed with her colleague while a customer waited impatiently. The air had a stale smell, faint but noticeable, like food that had been sitting too long. Derek's instincts tightened. Something was wrong here. When his turn came, he ordered a cheeseburger and fries. The cashier rolled her eyes as if she hated her job, tapping the register slowly before handing him a receipt without even looking at his face. Derek remained calm, observing quietly. After a few minutes, his tray arrived. At first glance, everything looked normal, but as soon as he lifted the burger bun, a wave of sour odor hit him. The lettuce was brown, and the meat patty looked dry, as if it had been reheated multiple times. The fries were limp and cold. "Excuse me," Derek said, keeping his voice polite. "This food doesn't look fresh. Could you make me a new one?" The cashier smirked and waved her hand dismissively. "It's fine. It's how it always is. You want better? Go somewhere else." Derek stared at her, his mind already racing. But he wasn't done testing them. He pushed the tray slightly forward. "Can I speak to your manager?" he asked. From the back emerged a man in his late 30s wearing a greasy apron. He looked annoyed, clearly dragged away from something he'd rather be doing. "What's the problem?" he barked. "This food is spoiled," Derek said firmly. "Just want a fresh meal." The manager glanced at the tray, shrugged, and said, "That's what we got. Eat it or leave it." The words echoed in Derek's head. Customers around began to notice, whispering among themselves. Some shook their heads in disgust, while others quietly pushed their own trays away. Derek felt the fire inside him grow. The staff didn't just serve bad food, they disrespected the very people keeping the doors open. What no one realized was that Derek wasn't just a random unhappy customer. He was the undercover boss, and their arrogance had just written their downfall. The atmosphere inside Golden Bite Diner grew tense as Derek pushed the tray aside. Customers were whispering, some pulling out their phones, sensing a scene about to unfold. The manager, still unfazed, leaned on the counter with arrogance written all over his face. "Look, buddy," he said sharply, "if you don't like it, there's the door. Don't waste our time." Derek locked eyes with him, calm but steady. "You serve spoiled food to paying customers, and you think that's acceptable?" His voice carried authority, though he still kept his true identity hidden. The cashier snickered. "Ugh," another complainer. "What do people expect from fast food anyway? It's cheap. Deal with it." The audacity made Derek's jaw tighten. He glanced around and saw a young mother struggling to feed her child cold fries. At another table, an elderly man pushed his tray away, clearly disgusted by the soggy burger he had been served. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about every single customer being cheated and disrespected. "Maybe I should call the health inspector," Derek said, his voice low but firm. That got everyone's attention. Cashier froze, her smirk vanishing. The manager stepped closer, trying to intimidate him. "Listen, don't make threats. Nobody cares what you say. This place makes money whether you like it or not." He laughed mockingly, adding, "Besides, it's not like the owner is here to see it." Derek's eyes narrowed. The arrogance was unbelievable. "And if the owner was here?" he asked. The manager scoffed. "Please. The guy who owns this place. Some rich black dude who never shows up. He doesn't care what happens here. We run things how we want." Gasps echoed around the diner. Customers turned, stunned by the blatant disrespect. Malik, a college student eating nearby, muttered loudly, "Wow. Did he just say that?" Phones were now recording openly, cameras pointed at the confrontation. Derek leaned forward, his tone dropping. "Be very careful with your words." But the staff didn't stop. The cashier rolled her eyes and muttered under her breath, "Yeah, right. Like some boss would ever waste his time eating here." That was it. Derek's patience had run out. He slowly stood taller, his calm demeanor shifting into something far more commanding. The quiet strength in his presence was unmistakable now. He reached into his jacket, pulled out a sleek black wallet, and flipped it open. Inside was his official identification as the franchise owner. The crowd gasped. Phone zoomed in. Cashier's face went pale. The manager stumbled back, words caught in his throat. "I am the owner," Derek said firmly, his voice echoing across the silent diner. "And I've seen enough." The room froze. For the first time, the staff realized who they were really dealing with. Seconds later, their world was about to collapse. The diner fell into a stunned silence. All eyes were locked on Derek as he stood there, his owner's ID in hand. For a moment, no one moved. The cashier's smirk had vanished, replaced with trembling lips. The manager's bravado melted instantly. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Customers whispered loudly, phones recording every second. The truth was now undeniable. Derek's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "You sold spoiled food? You laughed at customers? You disrespected the very people who keep this business alive. Worst of all, you dared to mock the man who built it." He slammed the spoiled burger onto the counter, the rotten smell filling the air. "It ends today." The manager stuttered, his arrogance crumbling. "Sir, I didn't mean—" "Save it," Derek snapped. His tone was sharp, commanding. He turned toward the customers. "You all deserve better, and you'll get it. Right now." Pointing at the staff, he declared with finality, "Every one of you fired, effective immediately." Gasps erupted. The cashier dropped the receipt pad from her hands, eyes wide with panic. "Wait, you can't just—" "I can." "And I just did," Derek interrupted coldly. "Get out of my restaurant." The customers burst into applause. Some even cheered, chanting justice. Phones captured the dramatic moment from every angle. The once arrogant employees stood frozen, humiliated in front of everyone. Security, alerted by Derek earlier, walked in and escorted them out one by one. But Derek wasn't finished. He turned back to the crowd. "I owe you all an apology," he said sincerely. "This place carries my name, my reputation. What you experienced here today was unacceptable. Starting now, this diner will be cleaned, restaffed, and restored to the standard you deserve." The young mother smiled gratefully, hugging her child closer. The elderly man nodded in approval. Customers clapped again, this time not just for the firings, but for the dignity Derek brought to the moment. As the last of the staff were led away, Derek raised his voice once more so everyone could hear. "There's a lesson here. Respect isn't optional, it's required. You don't mock people. You don't poison them with spoiled food. And you don't forget who you work for, the customer. The day you do, you lose everything." The cameras caught every word. By the time Derek walked out of the diner, the story was already spreading online. Clips were being uploaded with captions like "Undercover boss fires," "Staff on the spot," and "Spoiled food scandal exposed." Within hours, millions would see what happened inside Golden Bite Diner. And for the former staff who thought they could disrespect and cheat people without consequences, they learned the hard way. The boss was watching all along.